Hi everyone, in this video I will explain to you how to do the coding comparison from scratch on NVivo for Mac. The queries for coding comparison is very straightforward. For example, we just go to explore and the queries and you see coding comparison. And all we have to do is select the user for group A and user for group B and run the query. So the query is very easy to use, and NVivo provides a very good tool for us to compare the codes from two different users or two different coders. It will show us the level of agreement and disagreement between two coders. It also calculates the kappa values to show the inter-rater reliability, as you see on the screen. The tricky thing is how to include the codes from two different users or coders in the same project. So as you can see, NVivo identify codes by user group. So I will show you two different ways to do it. The easiest way is to have two users do the code in the same project. In that case, your project will consist of two sets of codes done by two different users, and then you can do the comparison quickly. The second way, which most of us want to do, is to have two coders code the data separately in their computer, then combine the codes. That is a part that's a little more tricky. So first, we have to understand how the user works in NVivo. Each project or each task that we do in NVivo is linked to the user profile. So to view our user profiles or to create a new one, we just go to NVivo over there, preferences, and you see user profile. So NVivo may have some default name, but in this case, I created this in previous project. So remember, so I create the first user profile that I call Truong D1 with the initial D1. Now, initial is important because later when you look at the code, it use initial, not the full name. So I call D1 here, so just to remind me, this is the first user in my project, the number one, right? We can also view how many users so far that we have in this project by going to File, Project Properties, and select Users. So showing that currently in this project, I have one user which is Truong D with the initial D1. So now we know the user that currently we have. So assuming that I'm the first user and I'm doing the coding as usual, and to simplify this step, I will only do a simple coding for one node and just like two cases to save time. So I'm going to close this one first to avoid confusion. So I'm going to start from scratch first. We import the interview files, import files, documents, and I'm going to go to my file here, and I have different files, so I want to make sure I don't accidentally import the wrong file. So only the Word files. I hold the shift button to select all, click import. So it may take just a few seconds to import all. Remember, this is not my full project, so I will not include the case classifications or attributes. I just want to show you how to do the coding comparison. So these are interview files that we have. Then, I'm going to create a node under coding, under create the code, and I will create only one parent node with two child nodes, just to show an example. So new code, and I call attitude. Make sure you know exact name for this node, because later the other user must use the same name. And I select aggregate coding from child node, click done. Okay, so in the code you can see this parent one, right? I create another child node underneath of this one. First one I call positive, and okay, then I create another child node, new code, negative, and click done. Now I have the node hierarchy, and you can see it's created by D1. That's initial for the current user that I have, right? So let's do very quick coding for this example. So I'm going to code only two persons in here to link to positive attitude and negative aptitude. First one's Barbara. So I'm going to code Barbara, and one way that I usually even here is, because I already went through it, so I want to do quick search. I can use command F, open this. So suppose I want to search the pattern, she says something interesting, right? So I'm gonna just do a quick coding here. This only should be done if you actually go through the document. So I'm gonna highlight, this. Let's say you highlight the whole session up to here, right? And consider this paragraph or this part is positive attitude. And I select code up here. You see code up here, which allows you to select the node that you want to code it to. In this case, positive. Now you can see the highlighted text is coded to that node. I also try another one. Again, this is an example, right? In this case, I highlight the big part of the text, and later I do it differently so you can see the difference. In this case, I'm going to highlight this part and consider another positive attitude. Code positive. Now I've done the coding for Barbara. Then I move to another person, which is Simon, which in this case, I'm gonna code some of his interviews to the negative, let's say, as example, right? So I went through that, and I know there's one part talking about something negative, so I say no. So this whole thing, right? So I'm gonna highlight this whole part. Looks like it shows some kind of negative attitude. I do the same process by clicking the code up here and select negative. So now I completed the example codings, right? Which I can go back here and you can close this now and see it shows I have codes created by D1, right, for these nodes, So now, in order to create a new set of code with the new user, so we can do the coding comparison, right, we need to create the new user. So I'm going to go to NVivo Preferences, and now I create the new profile called Chuang D2, initial D2, So I know this is the second user, and I click apply. And I want to make sure that I have two users in my project. It shows that I have the new user called Chuang D2 with initial D2, and it's currently active, right? So I'm going to do a new coding under this user. However, keep in mind that the D2 user do see everything that user 1 has done, including the code. So we do not want to show the codes in the files that may bias the second user. So I'm going to do the coding again. I'm going to go to Barbara again, right? And, like I said, if we click highlight in here, it might show the codes that user 1 has done. So we don't want to do that because user 2 might get biased. So we're going to turn everything off. User 2 not supposed to see it, and user 2 going to code the same thing again. So I'm going to use the search again just to save time. So to create the differences, in this case I only highlight half of the text that I coded before. Okay, and code to positive, right? Search another part of it. Same thing in here, and I only highlight half of it. Just an example, so later you can see the differences between the codes that are done by two different users. So that's Barbara. Now I'm going to go to Simon, and I'm going to do the same, follow the same coding protocol, right, using the same node hierarchy. Again, to make the difference this time, I'm going to just highlight only part of the text and code it to the negative. So now we go back to the code, and it shows that now we have some new codes modified by user 2, D2 and D2. So now we have, in this process, we have the codes done by two separate users. So now we can run the coding comparison and see what it tells us. So we go to Explore, Query, Coding Comparison. Like this is very straightforward. For user group A, I select Chuang D1. User group B, select Chuang D2. You see, both users are shown in here. And since I selected half of sentences, so I won't do the calculation based on characters, not the sentence. Just use the sentence or paragraph, and NVivo may only consider the full sentence. So half sentence, they consider as a full sentence, or something like that. To get the more correct comparison, I'm going to use characters in this case, and run the query. Now it shows that the agreement is 99%, and then you can show in the detail. Of course, in this case, the only code that I do was with Barbara, and you can see kappa is a little different because I coded them differently, right? Others show 1 because I haven't coded them. This is nothing to compare. So basically down here, for the negative, I look at Simon's, same thing, kappa is 40.43. So attitude is aggregated, so you can look at it here as well, but to be more precise, we look at the child nodes, and remember, I only look at the one that I coded. In this case, I have Barbara coded to positive, kappa 0.39, even though the agreement level is 96%. For negative, we have Simon's, kappa 0.43, though we have agreement level 97%. So now we say, hey, there's differences here. So how can we see the differences? To do that, you select Show Coding Comparison Content. By select that option, NVivo shows the detail of the codes that we done. So I scroll down, right? Okay, so this, let's see, Barbara for positive, right? So now you can see NVivo highlight differences. We're in group A, which is yellow, and group B, which is blue, right? And the green is show both group. So you can see now how those two coders coded differently. Then you can discuss and make adjustment in the codes to achieve a better reliability. Right? Same thing if I look at Simon's, right, and the negative, and here is a code that I did, pretending to be two different users, and now you can see the differences between two coders. Right? So that's how you do the coding comparison uh, using two different users in the same project. I'm going to show you how to do it when we have codes from two different projects, or when two users do the coding separately. So I will do that in next video, and thank you and bye now.